Okay, now I'm going to show you the overview of purchasing process. Okay, in material management, the most important sequence of processes is actually the purchasing, right up to invoicing. The difference between purchasing and invoicing is that in purchasing we raise a purchase requisition. I mean, the internal departments of a company will raise a purchase requisition that they are in need of this particular material. For example, in the production department, if they are short of some materials to be used for production of a finished good, they raise a purchase requisition to the purchasing department. Then the purchasing department will raise a purchase order, and they will send the purchase order to the vendors. The vendors will send the goods back to the company, so we perform a good receipt. And after that, once the good receipt is performed, we need to pay the vendors, right? So that this is where we pay the vendors. Logistics invoice verification for the goods that the vendors have supplied. Okay, I'm going to explain this process here one by one. First, the internal departments will raise internal departments will raise purchase requisition to the purchasing department. Okay, then purchasing department will raise a purchase order and send it to the vendors who supply that particular material. Okay, before the internal departments raise the purchase requisition, obviously they will check in their inventory where they stock the materials to see if the material is available. Only if the material is not available, they raise a purchase requisition to the purchase department. Okay, so that is done beforehand. Then the vendor will supply the goods ordered, and so once goods are received, goods receipt posting will be done to update the inventory inventory figures. Okay, then invoicing will be done. Let me increase this height 800. Invoicing will be done. Based on the goods receipt. Okay, so this is the whole process of purchasing. Okay, being this is done by the vendors will supply the goods. Okay, now for this process we have to use purchase requisition, create purchase requisition. For this process we have to use create purchase order. Okay, purchase order, and we have to also release the purchase order. because once we raise a purchase order, it has to be approved by the approving manager in order for the purchase orders to be sent to the vendors. So that's what is done in the release purchase order step. The approving manager, who has got the rights to release the purchase order, will release the purchase order, will approve and release the purchase order, so that the purchase order can be sent to the vendors. Until and unless the purchase order is approved, it cannot be sent to the vendors. Okay, then the vendors will supply the goods. This will happen external to the company, so no postings will happen here. Once the goods are received in our warehouse, then we will post the good receive posting here. Okay, once that is done, then we can do the invoicing. Okay, this is wrong. Let me just change this. The vendor will actually send the invoice. Then once we receive the invoice, then we perform this step: post the vendor invoice into our systems. Okay, this is also external. When the vendor will send the invoice, once it's arrived at our company, we will do this step here, logistic invoice verification, to post the invoice into our system. Alright, now let us start up with this step, create purchase requisition, in our next topic. Okay, let me end the topic.